So today my topic is fact versus fancy in hard time. This is my personal information. Then today I am dealing with these topics. That first is introduction, then about author Charles Dickens, then fact versus fancy. In this topic, facts, figures, and logic, and other is metaphysics, fantasy, and imagination. Then citation and conclusion. About author Charles Dickens was born near Portsmouth and Portsea. He was an English novelist, generally considered the greatest of the Victorian era. His many famous volumes include such work as A Christmas Carol, David Copperfield, Black House, A Tale of Two Cities, Great Expectation, and Our Mutual Friend. Then this novel is starting from this quotation, that in the dialogue of Thomas Gradgrind, that in this life we want nothing but fact, sir, nothing but fact. In introduction, novel written in Victorian civilization, which cared only about industrialization to a degree that caused disappointment and unhappy life to most of the people of that time. Dickens, for that same reason, suggests that there is something else needed beside fact to achieve the greatest happiness for the greatest number, which is the spiritual side that Dickens calls fancy. Then fact versus fancy. This whole novel is upon fact versus fancy. We find two type of character. One is totally connected with fact, and another is totally connected with fancy. So let's see. So fact being something which is true and unchangeable, opposites with fancy. And fancy is something changeable that cannot be proved with figures, is the most important idea in her time. Fact being harsh without the help of fancy. In fact, there is a facts, figures, and logic. At the very beginning, Mr. Gradgrind stated that nothing except facts should be studied. Facts are the only thing needful in this life. The significance of faith had reduced a lot, and there was no room left for metaphysics, fantasy, and imagination. Instead, the emphasis was given to facts, figures, and logic. Then, one very obvious victim of fact is Louisa Great Grind in this novel. She has suffered so many times just because of fact, and this fact she has to fulfill because it is her father's order. Her unlucky life begins at the point when her father hear her saying that, when Louisa said that I wonder, and her father replied that Louisa never wonder. Then others on the other side, that metaphysics, fantasy, and imagination. Here Dickens seems to support fancy rather than fact. He illustrates that fancy is more pleasant and appropriate than a great grind's fact. One reason for this may be because fancy is undertaken in Cocktown and is resisted by the high class. And fancy does exist, that it can be great fun, and that it contributes to a personality that is more charming, lively, and powerful than that of a great grind, the straw man of fact. The narrator writes circle of fancy around the great grinds of the world to make them dizzy. Here the story was starting by the facts of great grind, and here Charles Dickens tried to play with fact and with around great grind. Here we see the here in this picture there is two type of person. One said that I play Clash Royale, this is fancy, and on the other side this dialogue is said as, it is with certainly that I must inform you of the fact that I use the entertainment application recognized by the name Clash Royale. This is the example of fact and fancy, that one said both dialogue have same meaning but said in a different way. Here Dickens shows that fancy is not only more enjoyable than Great Grind's fact, but also more applicable. A man like Mr. Gradgrind only sticks to fact, but even he is not perfectly free from fancy. Here, I found one article of David Sunstone. named Fettered Fancy in Hard Times. He gave two definitions about fancy. That the first is the narrative personality combine images of life with images of lifelessness in complex relationship, creating an impressive model of a highly fused interdependent world which contradicts the disjoint world of great grinds fact. Then the other definition is the virtuous characters employ fellow feeling to soften ills caused by effect, but the novel does not show the components of a fancy to be coordinate as Dickens implies. In a practice, imaginative play provides a protective atmosphere of a delusion within which fellow feeling is supposed to grow to strength. Imagination fortifies innocence against the sordid and bad aspect of reality. Then I tried to compare the novel with the movie, Bollywood movie Mohabbatein. Here, Mr. Great Grind, and in this movie we found Narayan Shankar as Amitabh Bachchan. His most famous dialogue was परंपरा प्रतिष्ठा अनुशासन. ये इस गुरुकुल के तीन स्तंभ है. ये वो आदर्श है जिनसे हम आपका आने वाला कल बनाते हैं. Here in this novel we find Mr. Great Grind versus Cecily. Great Grind is a man of fact, and Cecily is a man of person of fantasy. Here in this movie, we also find that Amitabh Bachchan was a man of fact, and Shah Rukh Khan was a man of fantasy. Amitabh Bachchan wants to invent a society who live like a fantasy, fact, and on the other side, Shah Rukh Khan was the person who want to establish the love rather than other thing. Here we see one video, so let's see. So here in this movie also we also find that the both fact and fantasy both are work together. Here Shah Rukh Khan and Amitabh Bachchan played a role we can take as Mr. Great Grind and Cecily Juke. Shah Rukh Khan wants that everyone wants love, and they have to fall in love with each other. And here in this novel, Louisa is totally bind with her father that you have to live life with facts and only facts, and you have no right to love any other man, and that's why she married to a very elder man than her. So, thus, Dickens built a bridge of imagery within each of two domains, that of life and fancy, and that of lifeless and fact. The gulf between them is a real one, and members of one domain cannot really touch upon the other. These are work citation. Thank you. Now, if you have a question, then you will ask.
Gayatri, according to you, what is fact and myth?
According to me, fact is something unchangeable and true. Here we find the character of Thomas Gradgrind, who is the man of fact. And in example, we find that Amitabh Bachchan as Narayan Shankar, who is also a man of fact. And on the other side, fantasy is something very changeable, connected with imaginary. And in example, there in novel there is Cecily Juke and other in Shah Rukh Khan in the movie of Mohabbat. Yes.
Gayatri, according to you, how Louisa Gradgrind is the victim of fact?
According to me, Luisa is the victim of fact that she is the elder sister or elder sister of her brother and sister, and great grind. She has to follow the rules of great grind, and great grind was the man of fact. He said he never wants her to wander. He only want her as a educator and a reader only. But Luisa wants to live her life with lovable, and but her father never accept it. And the other side, her brother also do the same thing. He want to be rich. He want to be rich. He want to get a job. This Louisa Gradgrind has to marry with the elder man, Bounderby, Mr. Bounderby. So she is the victim of fact. Thank you.